Okay, so back with this Telecaster build, and the first thing I'm going to do is start preparing some materials to get this body blank built. So we need some basic measurements for that. So the body comes in at about 15 3/4 inches, so that's just under 405 mil. I'm going to go a little bit more than that, so I'm probably going to go, I'll go to 17 inches just to make sure I've got plenty of spare material. And at its widest, it's just under 13 inches. So we can get rid of the template for the time being. And get some of this material onto the bench. Now, in the last episode, I said that this timber is 4x2. Some of it is. Some of it, however, is 3.5x2. I have got some more 4x2s, but they're right at the back of the shed and I can't get at them because the shed is full of lots and lots of junk. So I'm going to have to go with this 3.5x2 just to kind of make up the difference. It is, however, all the same thickness, and that realistically is the most important bit. I'm going to try and get as much as I can out of the 4x2, but I also want to miss some of the big knots if I can. However, this is a curvy shape, so some knots can be missed. So all I'm going to do is start finding some kind of decentish bits of wood. Put a pencil line, measure out my 17 inches. There's a nasty knot there that I wouldn't really want in, so go to there and there. So I can get 3 lengths out of the 4x2, which is going to give me around about 12 inches. It will be a little bit less because we do need to clean these edges up. So that means I only realistically need one piece from this narrower bit of timber. There's a big split up this end. Turn it round. There's a bit of crappiness there. So we can get rid of that. So with that done, I can dig out my bench hook. My faithful pull saw. And I'm going to go a little bit waist side of my line. It's actually amazing. I know for a fact that this wood has been in the house for nearly 100 years. It was put in 1931, so we're about 6 or 7 years shy of this being 100 years old. But I'm cutting it and I'm still getting that beautiful pine smell. Amazing. well, that gets your heart rate up, no doubt about it. However, we have got 4 good bits of timber now, and I just wish we had smell-o-vision because it smells absolutely glorious of pine in here. So we'll just get this out of the way, and we can get our bits of pine over. Now, this one's got a hole that goes right the way through it, so I'm going to put that one in the middle. This one's got nail holes, so they'll go to the inside, as does this one. So that will also go to the inside, and I'm hoping that if we put our template on the centre line of those, nowhere will we cut through the outside pieces to reveal those little bits of dodginess. We might get the odd nail hole kind of peeking through, but they are very small and we should be able to fill them up. Remember that we're doing a sunburst finish on this, so the edge will actually be painted quite opaque black, so we won't see too much of that. So I think we've got the makings there of a decent body blank. So next I need to use a plane to clean up everywhere where these bits of wood meet, and just make sure we've got nice, straight, clean and square mating surfaces so we can get a nice good glue up. And to do this, in the absence of my planer thicknesser, I'm going to be using a hand plane. However, I'm pretty confident, because I haven't touched it for a little while, that the iron on this plane is actually quite dull, and it is. So I'll get this stripped down, we'll give it a quick sharpen up, and then we can see if we can get this all cleaned up nicely. Okay, so that's nicely sharpened up and ready to go. So I just need to get my bits of wood back onto the bench. And this is the order I decided that they were going to work best in. So I'm just going to kind of mark up how they go together, and that will also tell me which of these faces I need to be planing. There's basically this edge, both of the edges on this one, both of the edges on this one, and this edge here. So we'll get one in the vise and we can make a start on it. And basically what we need to be doing is planing this face until it is dead straight and also dead square, because we're going to need all 4 of these pieces to sit nice and flat together so we get a nice straight body blank. Now you might be able to see, and demonstrate it with a square, there is a bit of cupping to this wood. It doesn't really matter because we've got 1/4 of an inch to take off this, so we'll be able to take that cupping out without any problem whatsoever. So I'm just going to start working down on this. I think we're pretty straight already on that because it's taking a nice consistent shaving off, but we're running a little bit out of square just on this edge up here. And to get rid of that, I'm just going to I'm going to move my plane over towards that edge so it's naturally kind of wanting to tilt a little bit that way. And we'll just take a few shavings off. And hopefully that will be enough to square that up. And I think we've dropped quite lucky on this one because it has come in very quickly. So I've checked this with a level, and when I hold it up to the light, I can't really see any light coming through any gaps along there. So that tells me we're pretty straight on that. And I've also checked it with a square along its length, and we're square as well. So we can put this to one side, start with the next one. And this wood is cutting like absolute butter. It's beautiful. And you might be wondering how sharp that plain blade was after sharpening. And I think the simple way to say it is it's absolutely razor sharp. It would be easily sharp enough to shave hair off my arm, but I'm not really into that kind of thing, if I'm honest. But it was sharpened to 4,000 grit and then stropped, so it is extremely sharp. And that's what gives you this absolutely beautiful finish. Okay, and there's the 4 bits of wood all kind of jointed up nicely. I'm saying that's taken me about an hour to do. I would imagine if you're doing it for the first time, it will probably take you a little bit longer than that. It is an acquired skill to get these boards exactly straight and square. And I know that the first time I did it, I spent absolutely ages faffing around. You'd get it straight in one bit and it'd be out of square in another bit, and it was just a real long job. But this one's all sorted, and if I just put a little bit of pressure on, those gaps close up really, really nicely. So there's nothing else for it now but to get some tight bond on the job and get these glued up. And if anyone's seen me do this before, they will know I use a kind of a 5 clamp technique to do this. There'll be 2 big sash clamps underneath, another one on top of them, kind of evening out the pressure a little bit, and then I'll use some blocks and some clamps at the end just to make sure it's all kind of staying nice and straight. I'm not going to mess around. I'm going to put plenty of glue on. If it squeezes out, we can deal with that later. Bearing in mind we've got a good 1/4 inch to take off the thickness of this slab once it's all glued up. So there's really kind of no need to be too precious at the moment. Can't really talk too much when I'm doing this. Need to crack on and get it clamped up relatively quickly. Just get that final clamp down the centre. And then all assembled, we can just give everything a good old tweak up. And there we have it, all glued up. Now obviously I'm going to have to leave this in clamps for a little while for this glue to set up. And that's as good a point as any to leave this video. So I'll be back in a couple of days' time where we can crack this out the clamps and start to go about the business of thicknessing it down before we start actually cutting the body out of it. So make sure you tune in for that. And before you go, don't forget to hit the like button if you've enjoyed this. Subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.